The pine tree. Widely known for its role in the production of quality lumber and is the raw material used to make paper. Many are surprised to learn it also has a long history as a chemical resource. Originally known as naval stores, tree rosin has been used for centuries to seal the hulls of wooden ships. However, in the early 1900s, paper and pulp-making facilities discovered the properties that made rosin a friend to mariners created a problem with their manufacturing equipment. American ingenuity met the challenge. Innovations to the separation and distillation process allowed for the recovery of a co-product and the creation of a new commodity, crude tall oil.
Crude tall oil is the sap of the tree. So if you go to a pine tree and you cut it, you see the sap that comes out of it. That's basically what crude tall oil is. When they cook the tree to make paper, this sap is not part of the cellulose that makes paper. So it's separated out. It doesn't have a value in terms of making paper, has value in making chemicals.
The process starts with separating the CTO into rosin and tall oil fatty acids. From there, it is further refined and chemically reacted, creating higher value products every step of the way. The chemicals created are intermediate products and are used to make an incredible variety of consumer goods. You may have used one today.
Pine chemicals end up in paper, they end up in inks, they end up in adhesives, they end up in perfumes, soaps, vitamin intermediates, and to flavors and fragrances. So you touch it every day, many times every day.
And whether it's oil-field chemicals or a performance-enhancing product for tires, these chemicals all come from a renewable resource.
You know, they talk today about finding and funding all the bioindustry. Well, this was a bioindustry that came upon itself.
Well, sustainability is a big buzzword these days, and it's an important word. I think it's every industry has to go back and look at where their raw materials are coming from, both from availability and cost standpoint.
The pulp and paper industry is very strong around the world. North America pulp and paper industry generates more than 50% of the world's supply of CTO. So it's a real cornerstone for this global business.
The success of the business is built on characteristics inherent to pine chemicals and the research that continues to explore its great potential.
Tall oil is a very long chain molecule. It's a very large molecule. What that does is it gives it a lot of functionality to do different things in its applications. So really for us, it's not so much about what the chemical is, it's about the application and the functionality of the chemistry. And it's that that's hard to replicate, it's hard to duplicate, and it occurs naturally in the material.
So now we have a balance between green, sustainable, and functional materials. And when you combine that, you create value.
Some of that value can be measured in economic terms. The pine chemical industry contributes almost $2 billion to the U.S. economy. It employs almost 2,000 workers with a payroll of $93 million, and each of those jobs generates 9 additional jobs elsewhere in the economy. Analysis of the impact of the industry on suppliers and customers reveals the true economic picture.
When we look at an industry or when we talk about a specific industry, sometimes we overlook the contributions that go beyond that industry. The pine chemical industry generates $4.4 billion in upstream economic impact and also supports an additional $11.2 billion in downstream customer industries.
Our industry has both a direct and an indirect effect on jobs and on the economy. It actually has a very direct effect on how much foreign oil we'd have to use if we did not use pine-based chemicals. The alternatives would in large part be based on petroleum products.
A recent study shows the carbon footprint of pine chemicals is 50% of alternative chemistries. However, despite the positive economic, environmental, and societal benefits of pine chemistry, there is a threat to its long-term viability.
There's a big movement as people look for alternative energy sources to look also at biofuels, and biofuels are certainly a good source for fuel long-term.
Biofuels can come from a variety of sources. One potential source, crude tall oil.
Well, some governments support the use of bioenergy and subsidize those uses.
Under pressure to meet progressive energy guidelines, a trend has emerged: the use of incentives or mandates to use crude tall oil as a fuel.
Our interest lies not in preventing our kind of raw materials to be used for energy, because if they can be done efficiently and effectively and cost competitively with the things that we do, we think that's the right thing to do. The thing that we're concerned about is if a government comes in and distorts the market.
Well, our industry is perfectly happy to compete on a fair and level playing field for these feedstocks. And if it makes sense and to utilize them for energy production, and the market dictates that the value is higher for that, that's fine.
The biggest issue is just looking at use of our products and the functionality. Why would you take something that is so chemically unique and use it as a standard fuel, as opposed to taking something that is not very unique in petroleum and having to build that uniqueness into it? And really that's what the policy would be about.
I think the most important thing would be to understand that this industry is here.
Well, we want to have state and local governments know about the pine chemical industry and the important value that the pine chemical industry has in the United States and in their community.
Pine chemistry, innovative solutions, natural functionality, and economic growth for a sustainable future.